Hey guys, this is the second video for 8.5, so if you have not already seen the first part, I suggest you go ahead and watch that first so you know where we're getting this information from, okay? Alright, so again, first two steps of this really come down to just checking if you have a perfect square or not. If you don't have one, forcing yourself to make one. Alright, so if I go ahead and I start with my first process is to see if I have a perfect square. So if I look at this, I would say, would half of 6 squared make negative 16? Well, half of 6 is 3. 3 squared is 9, so this doesn't work. Let's go ahead and set up a blank for the new one. So I'm moving the 16 to the other side. I'm making him positive, and I'm making a new blank on both sides so that I can fill that in. I don't like how fat that is. Give me just a second. There we go. Okay. So remember just a second ago, we said what we wanted in that blank. Okay, so I'm going to kind of do this process at the same time. We talked about keeping the x, but I'm going to kind of break this up. So if we take our b again, that's my 6, right? Half of 6 is 3. It's positive 3. So I'm going to go ahead and write plus 3 in this blank. And to fill in my blank, I'm going to do that number squared. So what is 3 squared? 3 squared makes 9. So I'm putting 9 on both sides of my equation. And then what has to happen on the other side is I have to combine. So 16 plus 9 makes 25. Okay, I'm going to make a couple notes here real quick so you know what happened. Okay, we did half. Oops. We did half of the 6. We combined over here. And then we filled in with that half squared. So we cut 6 in half, wrote down 3, squared it, made the 9, and then combined what we had left over. Okay. From here, we're really going to get into our solving part now. I'm going to change colors back to the pink. Here's what solving looks like. We're saying, how am I going to get rid of this squared? Well, we're going to go back to the same thing we've been doing in 8.3 and 8.4, and we're going to square root it. Because what I do to one side, I have to do to the other, right? So this squared and this square root right now, they cancel out, which means all I have left is my x plus 3. And what is the square root of 25? Well, it's a 5, but we have to have our plus minus, and I'm going to make a little note of that. So we need plus minus after the square root. Okay, so make sure you have that part. All right, from here, if I'm trying to think about solving for x, that means I'm going to need to get rid of that 3. We're going to move it to the other side. So you can think about it like minus 3, or you can just think about moving it to the other side and change the sign. So if I move that guy over, we want to make sure that he's before the plus or minus. So it's going to look like x equals a negative 3 plus or minus a 5. Now, we still have 2 answers to this question, right? Technically, and I'm going to do it kind of big over here so you can see it real quick. Technically, we have negative 3 minus 5 and a negative 3 plus 5. You can write this out separately, or you can just do it in your head. Negative 3 minus 5 is a negative 8. Negative 3 plus 5 is a positive 2. So those are my 2 answers. That's a full question. I'm going to go ahead and take this guy away. If you need a second to watch that one again before we start number 8, go for it. Otherwise, we are ready to move on. I'm going to scoot this over just a little bit so we have some more space. All right, so we're going to go ahead and start number 8. First question is, if I cut b in half and square it, do I get c? So half of negative 4 is negative 2. Squared makes 4. Does that work? No. So we're setting this guy up. X squared minus 4x plus a blank. Move 32 to the other side, change him to a positive, and fill in my other blank. All right, we're going to do our squared part kind of in one step. We're going to set this guy up again. So half of negative 4 makes x minus 2. We're cutting it in half. Then we square it to fill in the blank. So squared makes 4. We put that on both sides. And we are ready to combine. 32 plus 4 makes a 36. So again, walking you through what just happened, we cut -4 in half. Then we went here and we filled in both of these with that -2 squared. After that, we combined to make this 36. Okay, I'm going to take all that extra junk out of there, but that is what we just did. Okay, so let's go through now. We are ready to start actually solving. So to get rid of my squared, I need to square root both sides. Squared and square root cancel, which means I have x minus 2 equals a plus or minus of 6. Have to have that plus minus. We're going to go ahead and move this 2 to the other side, and when we do that, he has to change signs. So x equals a positive 2 plus or minus 6. Remember I taught you to do the minus first so that it comes out least to greatest. 2 minus 6 is a -4. 2 plus 6 is an 8. Those are your two answers. If you have any questions, pause it, go back, watch that. Otherwise, we're moving to 9 and 10. Okay, problem number 9. We're going to start it. If I cut b in half and square it, do I get c? No. So we're going to do x squared minus 10x plus a blank, moving the 24 to the other side, and filling that in with another blank. Notice that my blanks every time are positive. A squared number has to be positive anyways, so we never have to do a minus sign. I'm setting up my squared because I know I'm about to have that. Keep your x, and let's go ahead and fill in our number. So half of -10 is a -5. That's our first part. Square -5, we get 25. Fill that in on both sides. Then I can combine. 24 and 25 makes 49. We are now ready to solve. Square root both sides. We're going to cancel the squared and the square root. Gives me x minus 5 equals plus or minus of a 7. We're moving that 5 to the other side. When I do that, it changes to a positive number. So x equals a positive 5 plus or minus of 7. Of 7. Remember, that makes two answers, so we're going to have 5 minus 7 is a -2. 5 plus 7 is a 12. Those are my two answers. One more on this page. If I cut 2 in half and square it, do I get -3? No. So we're going to go ahead, move that 3 to the other side, and create a blank. When I move him to the other side, he changes to a positive. And then we're going to set up our perfect squared so that we can fill that in. All right, keeping your x. What is half of 2x? That's going to be a plus 1. 1 squared makes 1. So those are the ones I'm putting in the blank. Combine on the other side. 3 plus 1 makes 4, and we are ready to solve. I'm going to square root both sides. Squared and square root cancel, so I have x plus 1 equals a plus or a minus of 2. We're going to move that 1 to the other side, and when I do that, it changes to a negative. So x equals a -1 plus or minus 2, which gives us which gives us two answers. -1 minus 2 gives us -3. -1 plus 2 gives us a positive 1. So everything on this side had a pretty square root, right? Square root 25, square root 36, square root 49, square root 4. Everything came out to a whole number. Now, we know that not everything is going to work that way. So as we go on to the third and final video, I need you to know that sometimes you will have to do work. You will have to simplify the radical. You will not have squiggle final pretty answers, okay? So we're going to do a third video so that it's not overwhelming on that topic.